Hey, it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to the empowered harmonizers. We're zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that was the experience of how to rebuild her life after experiencing a long and now unfulfilling relationship with a covert narcissist. So I want to go into how this is set up in either in when you're either born into as a child to a covert narcissist or a spouse in a very close, intimate relationship with a covert narcissist. Now, one thing that typifies the covert narcissist is a pathological sense of self-importance and coupled with a lack of empathy. So, although this quality, although not identified in the beginning, can be like what's very charming or alluring about them. In other words, their high self-confidence, their charm, their charisma, their strong and silent type. This individual which seems to have an appeal to you and you're attracted to this. And oftentimes it's not just a conscious awareness, it is a subconscious awareness as well. And this feeling then of being drawn in or then becoming dependent on this person can become a very much of a trauma bond as it's developed throughout the year. So it's not a healthy dialogue. It's not a healthy give and take. There can be the experience of feeling depersonalized, unacknowledged, and really what Pete Walker describes as the lost child, or the imposter syndrome. Forgive me, I was just escaping my memory there. The imposter syndrome, basically where you feel like because of lack of positive reinforcement, lack of positive acknowledgement from this person, people begin to adapt and adjust by adapting a false self or an imposter-like countenance to appease them, to please them, to get their attention, or furthermore, to pacify the need to belong, the need to fit in, the need to be harmonious. And rather than it coming from an inner sense of peace, it's not starting from that viewpoint, starting from that origination point, that start point of self-esteem and inner peace, which is the answer, which is going to be the key here. But instead, it is an adjustment that's made to appease or pacify or acquiesce the needs of another above and beyond yourself. So the feeling of the lost child or the imposter syndrome can become set up very quickly and can really plague much of a person's lifetime, where they're feeling like they're in the wrong degree, they're in the wrong field, they're in the wrong community, they're in the wrong life, they're unhappy, but they can't quite put a finger on it because one does not want to consciously admit, or it's very difficult for the spirit to consciously admit that there was an error made, a lack of judgment that has set you up to be where you are, or to break free from the relationship in the family and how you're relating to those people. So as you can imagine, if you're a child or a newlywed, very impressionable states of your psychological development, it's very, very uncomfortable to admit that you are unsafe, that you perhaps made you're in a unfit situation for you, an abusive situation, a neglectful situation, one that is not set up for your own best good. And so to admit this would be to admit failure. And so for a child to say this is a maladaptive or dysfunctional family, that's very difficult to admit when you're 6, 7, 8. So then or a newlywed for that example. So then the child then begins to adapt in a way that creates a very sort of deep empathy for either the person who's being abused or the abuser. And the identification with one or the other really sets up in a jet propulsion manner how you become adapted for life. In other words, the choices that you make, your self-esteem, the people who you surround yourself with, and how the trajectory of your life, where you all, end up. And so if you are in the beginning, in the childlike, very impressionable stage, or even as a newlywed, identifying with the abuser, i.e., you're acquiescing to the abused, then you're going to have a lot of anger, rage, resentment. You're going to have this whole rebellion side. You're going to feel that you've had to overly exert or overly push or over obligate yourself to appeal to people. In other words, you don't feel genuinely attractive. You can't just be yourself. You have to force yourself on other people to have a relationship. And then likewise, and then this can be, basically be like an imposter syndrome, where you're feeling like, I feel like this is not my real life. Might have accolades, I might have personal accomplishments or professional accomplishments, but it doesn't feel like the real me. I feel like there's something missing. There's a void there. And this is very much like Pete Walker says, it's the imposter syndrome, where you've had to adapt and adjust with this facade-like approach to life, which is not required. You do not have to live by your false self. In fact, it's a better idea to live by your authentic self, what truly resonates with you, what you truly enjoy, what you truly feel, and identify with what your true strengths are, but that might not have been validated for you early on, so you had to adapt and adjust by developing this imposter-like facade to get along either in your family of origin or in a married relationship. And then likewise, if you had identified with the abused, so for example, you're identifying with yourself, either as, you becoming overly sensitive, overly codependent, dependent on this person to see the light, to try to fix them, then this very much ends up into the lost child or the codependent, where, you're identifying with the abuse. So for example, if you were a child and then raised with a covert narcissist, and then one of the parents was getting more than their fair share of negative treatment, then you might have identified with the person who was being abused, trying to protect them, trying to stick up for them, make sure they're okay, make sure that they understand that they are lovable, that they did not do anything wrong, that this person is out of line, and trying to protect them as a child, being 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, even 12 into your teens, trying to protect or become like a surrogate parent to this individual who is being abused by or neglected by a covert narcissist, a borderline, or a psychopath even. And so then you become very much like a lost child, or becoming like a lost adult, feeling lost in the relationship, not knowing, who you are, but knowing that you always have to take care of other people's needs, and feeling like you're always having to be neglected, and this always happens to you again and again and again. It's because those chains are set up in the relationship with a covert narcissist, because they are not adept at mirroring back to you your strengths, your capabilities, who you are. And if in a relationship, you're in a relationship with someone who does not give you compliments, who does not say good job, who does not greet you, who does not, give you eye contact, who does not give you a pat on the back, a hug, a kiss, if you're in an intimate relationship, making love, all these things that are part of, the relationship and your physiological needs, you're going to develop along these lines, feeling like an imposter, feeling like a fake, or feeling like you're lost, or developing even psychosomatic illnesses where, you're developing these pains and aches and not able to ever find the cause. It's the fibromyalgia, it's the fatigue, chronic fatigue syndrome, things like that, where you're just, not, or going to doctors, you're having these undifferentiated conditions and going to all the pain specialists, but you're still in chronic pain. You might benefit from really taking a look at it and almost going into a meditative state, and then going into the feeling of the pain itself, and seeing if you can arrive at the origination of where that took place and what it's connected to. Now that's for another video, but I want to have you understand that number one if you have found yourself in this invalidated or negatively validated state where it's not an empowering relationship for you, then you need to go no contact or very limited contact and really focus in on yourself, working on yourself, i.e., strengthening yourself and being a source of validation for yourself, giving yourself accolades. I made a ton of great decisions today. Giving yourself a pat on the back. I made a great decision by doing this. I am making a great decision here. I'm making a great decision by watching this video. I'm making a great decision by taking care of my health. Giving yourself validation for making great decisions, great choices, and good judgment is a great way to start validating yourself, because choices are in the present. They help you become alive in the present and help pull you out of that anchor from the past, which could be a feeling that was set up 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years ago, and you're still existing in that feeling that was set up 20 years ago. It's time to feel something new. It's time to validate the authentic self, the real you. And a great way to do that is saying great decision, great choice. Great choice by brushing your teeth. Great choice by using that conditioner. Great choice by eating that for breakfast. Finding the littlest things to compliment yourself on will be a great way to get in touch with your authentic self, become a great self-validator, and then work on enhancing and developing your true self-esteem, which is value of yourself and knowing the value that you are, that you contain as an individual, and really the world at large. And it begins with knowing the I am. It begins with that self-trust, and it is permission-based. So you need to give yourself permission to do that. Shed and cast away all the negative validation that you have experienced at the result of being in a relationship with a covert narcissist. It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. And I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.